Okay, I think we're recording. So today I'm going to be talking about putting a turbo on your car, going NAT on your SC300, and today we're going to be talking about wiring. Unfortunately for you, I'm going to make you put in a little bit of work. So what you need to do is Google up this Ollie SC3 2 GE NAT TT ECU mod. And you need to read this that's on Club Lexus. Now, you're going to read it and you're going to be confused. That's fine. You need to read this thing 4 times. How many times it takes for you to understand what you're doing here? And I'm not going to be talking a lot about what you need to do, because if you're not willing to read this thing 4 or 5 times, you're not ready to turbo your car. It's going to take a lot of effort. You got to be willing to put in the work, or else it's not going to be done right. You're going to mess something up. And, if you mess something up on these ECUs, they're not cheap. So read this 4 or 5 times, however many times it takes. Decide which way you're going to do it, with what ECU. What I'm going to talk about a little bit today is this diagram. This took me a little bit to understand, so I'm just going to hit it pretty good. So this is your ECU plug. This is not your ECU. What we need to do is modify the plug a little bit. So this is coil output. Specifically, it tells, well, what spark to fire when. And because, or at least for my build, I'm using the IS300 and GS300 coils, which there's only 3 coils. There's not 6 like a Supra. This method uses 3 coils. And because you have 3 coils firing 6 cylinders, it uses waste spark. So what that means is that you got one coil. You're going to have 2 coil signals going to 1 coil. So that's what these mean. So this coil signal is going to go to this wire. And this is also a coil signal. It means, it's like signal meaning, hey, fire. So you've got 3 coils, and we're only going to have 3 coil signals, but there's 6 spots. So we splice. So the black dots mean splice. You're going to connect the wire coming out of 55. You're going to connect that to 54. And then that's going to go over here to spot 6, which is your trigger for coil number 3. You do that 3 times. So this is your old igniter for your SC300. We're going to cut that out. We're going to replace it. Up above in the posts, it says, there's either one that says get one from a Toyota Tacoma, or there's a Lexus one. It doesn't matter. Whichever one you can find on eBay or at the junkyard will work fine. So red means you have to run a new wire. So you're going to have to go to the junkyard or buy a wire that's, long enough to go from the ECU all the way out to your igniter, which is, if you're looking at the engine bay, is going to be on the right side, just above the fuse box. You've got to run 2 new wires. They've got to come from pin 55 and pin 56. And they go to port 5 and port 6 on your new igniter. This ignition signal, you're going to cut from here, or you can repin it. You can pull the pin out of the connector from your old igniter and insert it into the new connector for the new igniter. That's a great way. You don't have to rewire or repin anything, or like put on a new pin. 8 is a new ground. Tack, you cut and it gets fixed somewhere else in the system. You'll have to read the post for that. This B plus coming out of the igniter, this is going to be your positive power supply for your coils. So the coils are always hot. They always have 12 volts. And then the igniter switches ground. So it says, okay, you get ground, now you get ground. That's how that works. And that's why the grounds are the actual signal, and these are all shared. This is for switching from MAF to MAP. Let's see, I think that's about it. Yeah, you'll cut your ignition here, not cut. Pull the pin out of the connector and repin it into this spot. I think that's all I'm going to talk about. If you've really read it 4 or 5 times, you can put a comment question down below. But go read it, and I'll know if you've read. I can tell by the question if you've actually read the post. If it's something like, hey, you know, I'm still confused on which ECU I should use based off these parameters because this is how I want to do the build, then that's fine. If you want more clarification on this, that's fine. But you really do have to stare at it for a long time and go back to your car, look at the car. There's a lot to learn here. All right, well, thanks.